So I have a figure. Okay. So you know this ID, right? This tag, figure cap tag. So figure figure ID. So inside this one, so to set an image for the tag, IMG tag, right? So I'm gonna get an image observed path. Okay, so ALT means okay if that image doesn't exist, so this is I want to show alternate. Next. Next, I'm gonna write a fig caption. Okay. Next, I'm gonna create an unordered list. List of courses. Again, I'm gonna create, copy it. So the paragraph also. Class para events which helps user to interact with HTML elements. Okay, I'm just creating some random HTML elements. So with these elements, so I can able to select elements using these DOM methods. Guys, DOM is not a part of JavaScript. Okay, this is most important. See, DOM belongs to a web API. Web API stands for Application Programming Interface. I have one application, I have another application. I want to talk to each other, right? So we need to communicate. We need an interface, right? So this is called application interface. Okay, we have a fan, we have electricity, we have a wire, right? So it's called interface, which will helps to connect with the socket with the fan, right? The same way, application programming interface is also a piece of software, so which will help to communicate between two applications. Okay, so DOM. So one of the entry questions, DOM is not a part of JavaScript. JavaScript is only two things. One is call stack and heap. Okay, that's it. So DOM, geolocation, fetch APIs, timers, we'll see in the next classes. So these all belongs to web APIs, means basically browser is an hosted work, means hosting. Hosting what? JavaScript language. Okay, means so this building belongs to not to me. I'm just a rented person here. That's it. JavaScript like a rented person. To where? So inside a browser. So browser is the main thing which helps to work all these things. Okay, so treat like this thing. So JavaScript is a simple hosted language, hosted by browser. JavaScript doesn't know all these stuffs. Okay, what are the things? So we just now we are discussed just is JavaScript. Okay, apart from nothing else. So remaining all these things. So I will explain how asynchronous JavaScript works. Basically, JavaScript is a synchronous language. Okay, with the help of web APIs, behaves asynchronously. Okay, table row, right? Cannot here. First declare table row, next table header, right? Table header, here, name, email. Table data. Table data. Okay, next we have input. Okay, so these are the things we have. So now I am going to select. So we have a 5 way of selections, right? HTML element. So using DOM methods. So now let's see, we call DOM manipulation. How do we going to manipulate these elements? Okay. So these are the elements. So using these DOM methods, I am going to do DOM manipulations. Okay. First method, get element by ID. I want to select this ID. So how are you going to select this one? I want to select this element. What is the method? Okay, document dot get element by ID. What is the ID name? Fig caption, right? So figure. So for this one, we are using a figure.
Figure tag for which purpose?
Yes.
Figure tag.
So no, I'm using element by ID, right? So we need to specify the ID.
No, sir. Generally, figure tag is figure tag. I don't know.
Yeah, figure tag it's in semantic tags, right? Yeah, you can also do these things, but we use the semantic tags. What is semantic elements? What is semantic elements? HTML.
Which has meaning.
Yes, so these elements, either I can browser also can understand and developer also can understand, right? Section, main, header. So these are all semantic elements. So you all heard this thing, right? In HTML. Okay.
So, sir, figure tag is used for image. Sir.
Come again.
Figure tag is used for image.
Yeah. So if you want to put an image, so user needs to write it. It's an image, right? So you can easily control it also. So we will use for that one. Okay, so see, first I've set the element dot. Next, what is the thing I'm trying to change? I'm trying to change the style of the element. Style dot. So what is the thing? I'm trying to add border. Border equals. See, what is the property? Okay, I'm using border. So I try to change the border is equal to. So we have to send the value as a string. Okay, so 1 pixel solid red. So it will take a red 1 pixels of border. Understood how to select an element and how to add. See, why you use these things? Why we can't able to use this using HTML, CSS alone? You have to do dynamically. Like, so after some calculation, okay, so I want to add a style to element. Okay, it's not possible using HTML, CSS, right? So where do you gonna calculations happening here? In the JavaScript. All your calculation will happen inside the JavaScript. Once the calculation is done, you need to add a style. Just think, once the data comes from somewhere remote location, on the time you want to dynamically add these things, or some calculation has done, so you have to change the color of an element. Okay, so on the time we are going to use this such type of operations. Understood? Any doubts here? I'll simply show you a practical example. I have a for loop. Okay. Not for loop. Not for loop. I'll add some if condition. Okay. If 5 is greater than 3, on the time only I want to do these changes. Okay. So if the condition is true, then only I want to do the changes. Okay. So here I'll make it wrong. Means the condition is not correct. Okay. It's a false condition. On the time I will not do these things. Understood? So based on some calculations, based on dynamically, so we want to apply some styles, all these things. So we will use the DOM selection methods. Okay, it's not possible using HTML CSS, right? HTML CSS directly it renders the browser, renders inside the browser and will show directly. We can't able to conditionally we can't able to do this one because I don't know the condition. Okay, they are static, so this is called dynamic applications. Okay, now to make your application more dynamic, you need to use in JavaScript. So first way of selection is document get element by ID, right? Get element by ID. So do next topic is called a form validation. On the time we will see the real usage of all these things. Okay. So whenever every keystroke when I press, so I want to validate the user has been provided a validate or not. So for that you need to learn events also. Still I have not done with events. So this is the reason I am not started. So next document dot get element by class name. Get elements by class name. Right. So we have a class called para, right? So for this, I'm gonna apply a style. Document dot get elements by class name. Now tell me. So para. So how are you gonna select this paragraph? Does it work? See if I say dot style dot border is equal to 10 pixel of border dotted or dashed. Does it works? No, it doesn't works. Why? We have a reason. So what is the difference between get element by ID and get elements by class name? The name itself says elements returns an HTML collection, like it's an array-like structure. So can you directly able to select this array? No. How do you gonna select an element of an array? If you want to select an array, an element of an array, so through index base, right? See, we have only one para class, so only the first element means 0 of 0. Understood? So this is what I explained in last class. Get elements, only get element by ID and query selector will select the single element. So remaining 3 way of selection, they are all selects an array like structure like HTML collection, right? So it's an array like structure. Again, you need a array way of implementation, right? Understood everyone, guys?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now tell me get elements by tag name. So I want to apply a dotted green for this one, first one. Get elements by tag name. Document dot get element by tag name, get elements by tag name. So what is the tag I'm using? Unordered list. Okay. So since get elements by tag name, see we have how many unordered lists we have here? There are two ones. So I want to set the first one. Now tell me, how do you want to select? Of 0. dot style dot border is equal to 10 pixel solid 10 pixel dotted green. That's right. Thank you for dotted. Okay, so it will apply the first one. If you want to select one, you can pass one. It will set the second one, right? So because we have a two unordered list, okay, so it will select both the unordered list using tag selection. So it will store in an array-like structure. So array of 0 means first one, array of 1 is second one, right? So based on which one you want, you can able to select it. Both, yeah, we have to go for loop, right? So you can use in for loop and you can iterate. So otherwise you can copy it and you can pass one as well also. Okay, so hard coding is not possible because if you have a multiple elements, better go for loop. Okay, using for loop, so you can directly iterate over this one and you can apply the style. If you want only even index also, you can use for loop. For loop inside a put a condition. If index is remainder of 2 is equal to 0 means whatever the even indexed element, so on the time apply odd index, you can remove it. So if you know conditions and if you know loops, you can easily implement this all these things. Next, third way, fourth way, so query selector, right? So query selector only selects a single element, the first occurrence in the DOM tree, right? So here, see, I want to select only Angular. So if I ask you to select only Angular using a CSS selector, how do you gonna select the first Angular? Anyone? Of course, anyhow, query selector will always select the first one. Okay, query selector is always select the first one. So inside this one, I want to select only the first one. Okay. Document dot query selector. So this is all about CSS, UL of LI, right? So it will select the first Angular because this is the first UL, first LI. Because so of course it will select all the LIs, but you know this one query selector is always selects the first occurrence of the element inside the DOM tree, right? Dot style dot this time I'll change the color of the text, color property, right? Color to this one is red. Okay, it becomes red color. And also using query selector, you can do a lot of things, guys. So if you know all the selectors in CSS, all the selectors will work here. Query selector. So I want to select this image. Okay, now you know the descendant selectors, right? Or nested selectors. Figure of IMG. So like these things. So figure out you gonna signify is ID. So using hash, right? Figure of IMG, right? Dot C style padding. I'm applying a padding for all the four sides. Okay, padding, apply and style. I mean padding for all the four sides of the element, right? 20 pixels. It will take 20 pixels padding on all the four sides. Okay. So and as well also I want to add a padding for this one also. Which one? Fig caption. document dot query selector. Okay, so caption, I will keep it inside the room. Figure inside this one, fig caption. I'm looking for an tag, fig caption. Okay, dot style dot padding is equal to some 10 pixels. Okay, for this one, so I'm applying a 10 pixels of padding. Okay, next attribute selector. Okay, so you know about attributes are in CSS, right? So having SRC attribute. Okay, what are the elements we having SRC attribute? For those we can able to select them, right? Document dot query selector. So see, square bracket if I use, it's called attribute, right? So an attribute selector. So it will select all the elements having SRC attribute, right? So only one attribute we have, one element we have SRC attribute, right? So it will select the IMG directly. So how we are doing selection in the CSS, the same exact way here is also. Dot style dot width. I will try to increase the width. Width is equal to 200 pixels. Okay. So whatever the CSS we have selection you know in these HTML CSS, right? So the everything is works here is also exactly the same way using query selector. Next, query selector all, the last one, right? Query selector all. So basically query selector all will select all the elements. Okay. So document dot query selector all. Okay. So UL of li. Now tell me how many elements is going to select. Basically it selects 6 elements, right? Because under UL, what are the LIs we have? See, UL, all 3 LIs and UL, all 3 LIs. It will select all these 3 elements. Okay, total 6 elements, means 0 to 5 index. So 0 stands for the first one, right? Second, first one means the index 1, index 2, index 3, index 4, and index 5. Okay, it will set all the elements. So here I'll only interested in the first one, Angular. I already applied CSS, right? So color, right? So I will change it to orange. You can change it also, right? So which one will always take into effect in Java in CSS? So if you apply a style for an element at line number 1, and if you want to apply same style for the same element but they are different colors at line number 10, which one will take into effect? The last one, right? Always the last one, right? You know this one, right? Order of preference. You know this one. So it's one of the interview question. Okay, in CSS they will ask one question called specificity. CSS specificity. So if you apply a style, okay, if you apply a style for an element using ID, okay, you're applying some style. So the same style you're apply using a class. Which one are going to take into first? Which one to take into consideration? Highest priority is which one? ID is highest priority. Next, tag. Tag selections. Next, class selection. So we call CSS specificity. One of the interview question. Specificity. See, there are 2 or more CSS rules that point the same element. The selector with the highest specificity value will win, and its style declaration will be applied to that HTML element. Okay, see, highest is inline element, inline css. What are the inline css? So these are highest. Second highest is ids. Okay, so next, classes, pseudo classes, attributes. Okay, next, elements and pseudo elements. So these are priority wise. So one of the interview question, guys. Okay, go through this one. Okay, so it's really helpful to understand, and crack interviews. Okay, they will ask such type of questions. Spaces, specificity, which one is. So they will not ask you the question as well also. They will written some snippets, code snippets. Okay, they will put it in chat box and they will ask you, so which one color, so now tell me, so H1 will take which color, red or blue? So red they're going to apply using id, and blue are uploading a class. Okay, of course red will take because id is highest priority. Again, it is the same thing. See, I will apply a same style here is also. What is the one here? But again, the whenever it comes, see, the css always takes the last changes. Okay, where you done the last changes. Style, so color is equal to orange. Oh, should be small. See, it will take into orange color. Okay, so again, using this query selector all.
Sir,
Yes.
hello.
Yeah.
Sir, for query selector and tag selector, you give tag name. What is the difference? Query selector and
So
get element.
query selector is a generic selector. Using this query selector, you can select any element using CSS selectors. Like, so CSS, you know the CSS selectors. There are a lot of ways we can able to set an element in using CSS selectors, right? So tag selectors only based on the tag it will select. But query selector, so you can use in descendant selectors or attribute selectors. So any way of selection, any of known selection in CSS, it will select all the any element. Understood? So this is CSS we have selection, right? You know this one, CSS we have selection.
So you give the tag name for query selector and tag name for get
Okay,
element.
okay. You're confusing with this tag name. Then I can go for ID also. See, I go for ID also. Here, right? I go for ID also. Yeah. See, I'll go for tag as well. See. So inside UL, I will select only the first li. So query selectors always selects the first element occurs in the DOM tree, right? So whenever it started DOM tree, so this is the first element in having ULLI, right? This is the reason it's only selects the only one. Query selector selects only one element. When it comes to query selector all, it will select all the elements. Understood?
No, sir, we can give tag name as well as ID for the query selector.
Anyway, anything. Even using class also it works, right? See, I will apply paragraph. Where is the paragraph? Yeah, this is a paragraph, right? Okay, using query selector also, I can select the paragraph. So what is the paragraph having? So paragraph having class para, right? I will select that one also. First, let me finish this one. Purple, orange, blue, like hot pink, yellow. See, will take the effect. Okay, see, using query selector or query selector, I can able to easily select this one, right? So using having a class. Okay, what is the class name we have? Para. So for this entire, I'll change the color of the text. See, document dot query selector or query selector both will work. Okay, but if you select query selector all, it will return HTML collection. So we have having a class para only one element, so of 0. Okay, so how to specify class dot para, right? Of 0 dot style dot color is equal to mm, which color? Blue. See, it will take it to blue color. Understood? Understood?
Okay.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
I just asked the difference between tag selector and query selector. So you use
Yeah, tag
selector.
selector, you can only select based on the tag only, right? So what is the tag of an element? UL, LI, para, P, table, TR, TH. So this is called tag selection. You know the CSS tag selection. How do you going to select a tag selection?
Yes, sir.
Okay, right? This is a tag selection. Div is a tag selection. But when it comes to here, so I can use ID as well as I can use class. I can use class as well as I can use ID as well as I can use attribute as well as. Understood?
Okay,
So any known CSS selectors is works here. Understood?
okay.
Okay. So this is a major difference. Tag selection, you know already things. So tag, how do you gonna select it? So based on some tag. Okay. So these are the things you should keep in mind. So we have learned all the 5 way of selection. Okay. Now I have a situation. Okay. I want to construct an HTML element. See, you know, if you want to, I'm asking you, I may give you a list of student. Okay. I don't know how many students we have. So I want to construct a table. So you know the table, right? How to construct a table using a table element. Okay. So first we're going to define a table heading and table body. So under this table body, we're gonna define. So if you have a 10 students, we can create 10 rows, 20 students, 20 rows. Okay. But I don't know how many students I'm gonna get from the backend. How are you gonna create dynamically? Okay. So if you get a 10 students, of course you can add a 10 students. If you get 100 students, you need to create 100 rows. How do you gonna do dynamically? So we will learn it. So I told you, okay. So the DOM, whenever the JavaScript sees these elements, like I will write this one. So such type of elements, it will automatically renders into an HTML tags, and it will going to parse it. Okay, it will not even I'll write it as a strings, but it will not take it as a string. It will take it as an HTML element. Okay, so such type of scenario, we'll see these things.
59th line, the
Uh-huh.
document dot query selector, 59th line.
Uh-huh.
So there is no index. So in query selector, there is no index. Like,
Yes, see, query selector always selects single element, right?
okay.
Okay, on the time, so why do you need index?
Okay. Apart from the query selector, all and everything need an index.
Yes, yes.
Fine.
Okay, see, if you have a multiple elements, this is what I learned. So multiple values in a single variable array. Single value in a single variable, no need to write an array, right? So we can directly store it as a number or a string. This is what we learn in JavaScript in the beginning classes.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so okay, I'm gonna write a diagram. Okay, so I'll write a new file. Down 3. ఇంత క్లాస్ 9:30 వచ్చింది ఆన్లైన్ అంట ఓకే Okay, so have a students. Let students is equal to. So I have a list of student. Okay, I want to create an what we called. I want to create an a 4 column layout. You know this one 4 column layout, right? So I want to create a 4 column layout. So I will write as some internal CSS style. So I'll write a class called box border. So 1 pixel solid gray padding should be 20 pixels. Next, container class. So how to make a block level element inline element? How many ways in CSS? No, block level elements and inline elements, right?
Yes.
Okay, how do you gonna convert? How are you gonna transfer a block level element inline? So how do you want to? How can I allow the elements to sit one next to each other? What? So there are so many ways.
Sorry, what's that?
So block level elements to inline elements.
Flex, display flex,
Only flex?
and grid as well. Yeah.
Only grid?